Project for today is going to be continuing on this John Deere 212. I've got the snowblower in here now, so we're going to hook up the snowblower and we'll put some tire chains on the tires. It already had the wheel weights on here, so we just had to find some chains for it. And I'll probably change the oil in it. I'm pretty sure the oil leak, we didn't address the oil leak last time, we just got it running, but I'm pretty sure it's just the drain pipe that is coming off of it. It doesn't have any sealer or anything on there, so we'll wrap a little sealer tape on there and put that back on after we change the oil, and hopefully that solves our oil leak problem. But first thing, we'll get this snowblower on here and then we can go test it out after we get the tire chains too on there, and then we'll change the oil after I warm it up and run it. So in order to get that belt to go around this pulley on the engine here, we need to get this piece off. So there's a pin back here where the linkage runs up to move that in and out. So we'll take that off, and then this is kind of just a little retainer there. Well, actually, I don't even think we have to do that. We can just take it off like that. Well, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. So now we'll slide the snowblower up. It hooks into these pins down here, and then these top pins go through these holes here. So we got to make sure those are pulled to the out position when we set it up there, and then we'll snap those back in. We've got it on a dolly, make it a little easier to move. There's a linkage over on this side that has to hook into our lift. Got one of the pins, and that one went in. We'll rotate the belt on like that. And put that retainer doesn't hold very good anymore. I'll try to bend it in a little bit more. I'll try to get a vice grips or something to bend that. It's got a little, the pin here is loose, I think, is our main problem, but if I can just bend it inward and get a little bit of spring tension on it. It's better, still a little bit loose, but when it's jammed up against there, it should be fine. And like that, it still hooks tight. Yeah, that's wedged in there now. So that belt isn't super tight. We'll see how that works. Might be stretched a little bit. But then we need to set up our lift. There's a rod here, and then that just connects underneath. It's kind of hard to get the camera in there. We'll have to put that lever part way. I probably should have got that more lined up before we slid it up tight all the way. I might have to pull those pins and slide it forward. Well, I'll monkey with that and bring you back. I monkeyed with it a little bit and I got the rod connected up for the lift. It's hard to get down in here, but it goes right through here, and there's a pin that goes through that lift arm. I had to get the dolly out from underneath it, being that it was up too high, but you can see it doesn't lift super high, but that should be good enough for now. Usually you don't need to get them to lift too high. The only time it causes a problem is when you're loading on a trailer or something. But the shoes look like they're pretty good on these too. I did grease. This was the only grease zerk I saw on the thing, but I'm thinking the rest are sealed bearings, and there's a chain inside here that you could take the cover off and lube if you want, but this one looked like, looking down through here, it looked like it was lubed up pretty good yet. So I think now I'm going to put the side panels back on. I had to wait until I put the belt on here before I could put a side panel on this side. So we'll throw both those side panels back on, and then we'll throw the tire chains on it. It was kind of a mix match of bolts that had these side panels held on. So we'll see. Might have to replace a few of them. Some of these were pretty long ones. I think I'll grab some shorter ones to put in it. Grabbed a couple of shorter 1/4 inch bolts. Not tightening them down all the way yet. I think it just had 3 bolts. That bottom one, the retainer wants to spin. Oh, that's needs the really short one. I was pressing into the frame, but there was one bolt shorter than all the rest. It'd help if I had it going the right direction. There we go. I'll put this little bit longer one up here. I got that side on, and we'll go to the other side. This one had a bolt sticking through up there. And it had I think it had a bigger bolt up there. Oh no, that's still a 1/4 inch. I had a 5/16 bolt left over here for some reason. Oh. Something was come loose on our hood here, and it just broke the hinge off of it. You can see here there was JB weld on that hinge for the hood, so there isn't too much fixing that unless we ran some screws up through maybe, but those might end up tearing out of there, so I'll leave that alone for now. It still closes fine, it's just when it's open that you have to figure out something to get this junk off of here. It's like somebody had a sticker over the top of it. But now we have to run that linkage up for the chute. Got this linkage here that runs up. It goes onto that bolt there. Which that looks like it's a little 3/8, so that should be a 7/16 head on there. Not sure what somebody's got jammed in here. It's a 10mm. They must have jammed a metric bolt in there. But if you watched the first video, you'll know that this thing wasn't exactly put together correctly. Boy, and they put a long enough one in there. Holy cow. Yeah, it's got where it's supposed to have a retainer here. It had a metric bolt just jammed in there, so that wasn't what it was supposed to be in there. It's a little dirty, but we should be able to get a 1/4" bolt in there. The retainer was just like pushed up and out of the way, and then they jammed that bolt in there, which wasn't correct. So we'll put a new bolt in here. Oh, gotta swap sockets. That turns our chute. It's a little bit sloppy, but that's to be expected. How old this is. I'm sure it has a few hours on it. So now we can get to putting them tire chains on. So I'm gonna jack it up, and then I'm gonna let the air out of the tires, and we'll put the chains on and tighten them down, then we'll air them back up. That usually makes the chains good and tight, having no air in them and then airing them up like that. You don't have to do it that way, but it just seems like it makes it easier to get them tight. So I'm just gonna take the valve stem core out of the valve stem to let the air out. The other side has the rim on backwards. I'm not really sure why. I'm not really sure why they put that on backwards, so the valve stem's on the inside, but the way these John Deere rims are is a lot of them are, the dish out is the same on both sides, so it doesn't really matter. I'm not sure if these chains are gonna fit. They look like they might be too short, but we're gonna try to get them to fit. Even if they're too short, you can get them to go sometimes. They'll just have kind of a gap, which they are pretty short. So I've got it hooked to our link there. They're kind of short for this, so they're going over the side here. I hooked the backside on the second link in. That one we were able to do the same. You can see there's a gap here, but we'll try that just to see. It's better than having no chains at all, but it would be better if we had a longer set. These must not be for tires quite this big, but they're the only ones I've got. Well, I monkeyed around with those chains for a while, and I couldn't get them to pull over the tire far enough. So I've got a set of, I'm pretty sure they're ATV chains, but we'll see how they fit. Well, we'll see if these ones fit. These are probably going to be the opposite way. They're probably going to be too big. But we'll see if we can make them fit. Those actually seem like they're pretty tight. Once we air up the tire, maybe they'll get tighter. That's as tight as they'll go. I've got it on the last link here. I usually just kind of zip tie the tails of them up. So I'll put this valve stem core back in. Even if they're a little bit loose, I'll try running them as long as they don't fall off. They're a little bit loose, but we'll put some springs on the front here. Instead of using bungee cords, I used old springs from a trampoline. That seems to work pretty good. I probably could just come across with one off of this, and then we'll make a X out of it. I'll put the one on the other side, and then we're just about ready to go test it out. Well, I've got the chains on there. I ended up using one from a different set over here because I tried to use that other one that I thought was an ATV chain over here and it ended up being too long. So, and here's what I do with the trampoline springs, if you were wondering. They work a lot better than using bungee cords or anything. They do pop off sometimes. You can squeeze the loop a little bit tighter if they do start coming off so they can't pop off of there, but it mainly happens if you rub up against anything. But they seem to hold up year after year compared to the bungee cords. They'll end up breaking. So I think we're ready to fire it up and head outside and see if it'll blow some snow. Well, I've got it out back. Let's see if we can test it out. There isn't a heck of a lot of snow out here. It's snowing right now a little bit, but I came out back here because everything else is snowblowed everywhere. So I'll see if I can find enough to see how this thing will work. Well, it seemed to blow snow really good. It really was shooting it out of there. And then we didn't have that much snow and it had been sitting around for a while, so usually that's harder to push. But I think if you had a good fluffy snow, this thing would really kick it out. It was throwing it a long ways. So I'm happy with that. So we just need to get the oil changed in it now, and this one should be good to go. So it's just got a pipe here with a cap on it to drain the oil. I'm hoping that's the only oil leak. It does look like it's kind of all over the place, but it's kind of hard to tell when stuff leaks for a number of years. That oil's pretty black. It's a good thing we're changing it. But I'll let that drain and then we'll put some sealant on these threads here, and hopefully that'll fix our leak. I just wrapped the threads in this yellow Teflon tape. It's rated for gas line threads. A lot of guys don't like this Teflon tape, but if it's used correctly, I've almost never had a leak with it. The main reason it leaks is either putting too much or too little on. I try to do 2 to 3 revolutions with it around the threads, and that usually seals it fine. So it's just like anything, a lot of stuff people badmouth, it's usually because it's just not used correctly or in the wrong application. Because in like high heat applications, some of this, especially if you use the white stuff and then it's around gas and oil and stuff, it won't seal as good as this yellow stuff. But I'll get the drain plug put back in there and then we'll start filling it up with oil. Well, I got it filled up with oil. I just used 30 weight oil in it. I would have rather used some 10W30, being it's winter time when this is going to get used most of the time. It starts a lot easier with 10W30, but I didn't have any of that oil, so I just put the 30 weight in. These hold about 1.5 quarts on the 212s, but the Kohler K301 that's in this, they had different oil pans for different applications, so you can't really go by what any one K301 holds. You can start with 1 quart and kind of check from there, because they went from like 1 quart to 1 3/4 is what they ended up holding, but this one was 1.5 quarts that it held. So I don't see any new drips or anything off of this tube, so I'm hoping that was our issue. So I'll leave it sit for a few days and see if we have any more leaks that show up. Other than that, you can see the hack job of a battery install I did. This is the wrong type of battery in here, so just ended up putting the bolt through here to put it on the negative side. But that's gonna do it for this one. Just thought I'd do a quick video on finishing this one up. I might end up changing that chain on the back there on that side, just because that one stayed a little bit loose compared to the other one. I gotta find something else for that. But like always, if you like this sort of thing, like the videos and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you on the next one.